Okay, this is part 6 of Python course, and I'm very happy that you are here. If you're watching this, that means a lot to me, and you have learned a lot as well. So in today's lecture, we're going to talk about args and keywords. Args are non-keyword argument, and these are keyword argument. Basically, what this means, it will make our function argument list flexible. Okay, so I'm going to create a function here. It will be called addition function, or let's start with something very simple. I'm just going to start with a simple function that will create how old are you. So we're going to define years old function, and I will say current here and date of birth, and it will calculate or return the difference of current minus date of birth. Okay, and let's store it in an age variable and say years old and give it 2023, and the second parameter 1999, and print the age. Now if I run this, I should have some result like 20 something, yeah, 24 years. But this is not perfect example for this one, but I'm going to show you why I just wrote this example. So I have two arguments here, and I have two parameters. So if I pass another argument, 2022 again, and if I run it, look at what will happen. I have a type error saying that years old, this function, takes two positional arguments, right? But three were given. So this is not good. And that's where the args and keywords are coming. So these two keywords will help me to have a flexible argument list. How come? Well, you will see. So the args means non-keyword argument, and we can use this when we don't know how many arguments we should pass here, right? When we don't know the exact number of arguments we need to pass to a function. And I'm just going to remove this part, and I'm going to create another function called addition function, right? And here in this function, I will have the args as an argument. By the way, this is not, you can write any name you want, but this is like a convention, so you can stick to it if you want. And now I'm just gonna say here print args. So let's see, not spelled correctly, args. So let's see if I call this function addition function like this, and put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, what you think will happen? I will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good. Now I can add more arguments because I was not sure how many I needed, and it will still work. This is very good. So args will make this argument list very flexible. But what will happen if I remove that star from there? Good, I get back a tuple. And there is a function, built-in function in Python called sum. So let me just do it here. And the sum takes an iterable. And what is this? It's an iterable. So I can basically do this. Return sum of, come on, you tips, args. And I can comment this too. In here, I'm going to say result, because this will return the sum, and I need to print the result. So 1 plus 2 will 3, 6, 10, 15, 21, 28. Let's see if I can count good. Yeah, 28. Good. As you can see now, simple calculation like this, it's a breeze. And if I add one more, it will become 36, and I will not have any problems, right? That's it. So to summarize, the args is non-keyword argument, and we can add as many arguments here. It will make our argument list very flexible. But what about this guy here? So this one is a keyword argument, and I'm not going to explain too much, but I'm going to say here n let's delete this one. N7 say equal to 7, and N8 will be equal to 8, right? So what you think will happen here? Oh, actually, they are not strings. They are numbers, okay? I don't need them as a strings. So the keywords, I can add it here, but double star, keywords, like that. And let's print them here. What the keywords, without the star, because you will have an error. Let's see what we'll get here. I will have a dictionary with a key and a value. So I can use a named keyword arguments here, as many as you want. If I want another one, and 9 equal to 9, if I run it, I will have the access here. Very good. So we can pass as many keyword arguments as we want. But here I need to access their values in the body, and I have a dictionary. Well, it's simple with dictionary. Why? Well, we can use the for loop. For example, for item in keywords dot values, remember it will extract only the values. I will say, okay, result, I need to create this variable, by the way, equal item, and here I will say result will be equal to 0. Now in the result I will have 7 plus 8, 15 plus 9, 24, and I can add that 24 here, and together with this result, how much it will be? Let's see, 45. How cool is this? Actually, this 24, it's coming from here. Okay, doesn't matter. Now you can see that we can use both args and keywords, and we can make our argument list flexible. So to summarize, args and keywords are very special because it will make our function argument list very flexible, and this will allow the function to take any number of parameters and we can access them here. One of them we can access them in tuples, this one, and this one we can access them as what? As dictionary, and we need to use, if we need to grab their values, we can use the values, right? So args means non-argument keyword, and they need to occur before. So there is a rule we should follow. The highest, the rule is that if you use all of them in the same function, if you use all of these arguments in the same function, the highest order has the parameters, right? Then the args, then the default parameters, so you know what the default parameters are, then the keywords at the end, okay? Now keywords are also a keyword arguments that are used in a function in a form of a dictionary. Now you can use different names here. You can use R or keywords, whatever, but this is a convention and it's not a requirement, and I would recommend you to use it. I hope now you understand what keywords and args are and how you can use it so you can have a flexible argument list. Okay, let's talk about a very important topic in Python. It's called scope. And today we're going to discuss about global scope and local and block scope. So what global scope mean? Well, the scope refers to the access we have to the variables. So for example, if I print result here, then I will have an error because this result is not being declared or defined anywhere. So we need to declare it here to 10, for example, and this, or actually just put it here, and this, now it will work because this variable belongs to the global scope. So what this means, we can use this variable anywhere we want in our file, in our script, because even if we have functions, we can use that scope there. So define a function, so num function like this, it doesn't have to take any parameters, right? And just say print result. And if we call this function, so print, so we don't need to print, just num function like that. Now if I run it, I will have 10 as well. So this is the power of the global scope. Everything declared in the global scope can be used anywhere in the code, right? But look at this. If I create number 1 here and equal, that will be equal to 4. And let's print it here first, num1. Let's run it. I will have 10 and 4. Good. This is what we need. But if I try now to print num1 here, then I will have the error, because this variable belongs to the global, to the block scope. So this is variable that lives here in this block, and it's local to this function. So you cannot use it outside here. What you can do, just gonna comment this one, if you want to use the same variable, you can return it, right? Like this. Now, instead of doing this, I'm gonna store it as num1 equal, and then I can use it outside. Because now this function will return the value of num1. Num1 will be created here. So these two are not same. This one is block scope and this one is global. Now I can use num1 in other function if I want. Okay, so let's run it. Yeah, it's working. Now I will create one. Let me choose here. Print. Guess the output. And here I will create a function called x equal 1. Define a trick me function. Trick me function that will take a parameter x, and x will be 4 there, and then say return the x, and outside the function let's gonna print the x. Okay, and let's print the trick me function, and because this function requires to have pass an argument, let's pass number 5, or yeah, 5 is enough. So what will happen? On the line 19, we are initializing and declaring a variable, and this variable belongs to a local scope. Now the line 20, the interpreter gets here and say, okay, this is a function, I'm gonna skip this one because this is just a function definition. So it goes to line 24, all right? So it's gonna print the x. So before I run it, what you think, guess the output of these two? Let's do it. I hope you guessed it right. So 1 and 4. So this x comes from the global one. And when it goes to the line 25, I say trick me. Okay, call this function trick me on line 20 with the value of 5. It's go there, bam, value of 5. But this value is not used because there is a block value of a variable declared and initialized to 4, and we just returned that one. And that's why we have a 4. Doesn't matter if we pass here 104. It's not going to change the output, right? Because this value was not, it's not going to be used. And this x is different than this one because this x is a parameter, and it can be v, it can be d, or whatever you want. It's not important, and that x is dependent on the argument. Okay, I hope you now understand what the global and block scope means. In the block scope, we can use only in that particular block. So in JavaScript, which I like, we have a brackets like this, and you always know what's in that block, right? That's cool. But in Python, we have the indentation, and you should know that the indentation, whatever here, it's from the non-function block that belongs there. Okay, nice. So we will learn a little bit more about scopes in the next lecture. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about local and function scope. By the way, the block scope that we set here, it's also known as a function scope. Okay, so I've used the same, almost the same identical trick me function without a parameter here and without passing an argument here. So inside I'm using this global variable, right? And I'm increasing by 1, so actually x should be 5. I'm returning it, and let's run it. So if you are like just starting to learn Python or any other programming language, you will likely do this type of mistakes. And here it's saying unbound local error, local variable x, reference before assignment. Well, this part is not actually true. We use that variable here, which is locally defined. In the last lecture, I said, okay, wherever it's locally defined, we can use it anywhere. But now here I have a problem. Why is this? Well, look at it like this. Now, we have this problem, x plus equal to 4, because the function doesn't actually know what we have created here. The function doesn't know about the existence of a local variable x. Luckily for us, we can use a keyword here, and we can use the keyword global x. Now, it will look outside, and this should work without any problems. Nice. So x, this is same as a x plus 4, right? Don't get confused. That's why 1 plus 4 is 5. That's why we get the 5, okay? I'm just gonna comment this one. I'm gonna put it here. I'm just gonna return it as it was. Much cleaner like this, okay? Or do it like this. Now, there's a one better solution than using this global keyword, because very rarely you will see this. That's why with the functions, when we want to use, we can say here m or x again, and this x it's not same with this one, but here we passing the x. Now here the x is very important because it's gonna come from this part, and let's remove this. All right, now this x is very important because we already have defined it locally, and it's gonna be used this one here. And now the global, we don't need to use it anymore because it's gonna work. So now you know the power of arguments and parameters. How we can trick the system without just using the global and trying to tell the function, okay, look outside for a variable, so we will not get any error. And this is very powerful. So arguments going to be using whatever we have created here locally, and the trick me now x will have whatever value we have here. It will have 1, and that's why we're gonna get the result 5 back. Now I hope you understand the local and the function scope. If not, please watch the video and just do this one more time, and that's pretty much it for the scope. Okay, let's talk about non-local keyword. Now, if you go Google or if you bought a book, this non-local keyword will be like reading a science fiction novel, okay? So they tend to overcomplicate things. Now, I'm just gonna be very honest with you. It's nothing special. So we have two functions here, outer function and inner function. Why I need these two? Because the non-local keyword works only in nested functions like this one and this one. So inner function is nested to the outer function. Now another name, this will be parent and this will be child class, not class function, sorry. Okay? Now what's happening here? In the outer function on line 4, I have username equal to John. So the variable username is declared and have a value of John. Now I define the inner function and I use non-local username, and I then reassign a new value to this variable. So this is possible because I'm saying, okay, non-local username means, hey, go one level up and find a username variable declared there and just use it and do whatever you want. That's when we run this function, we'll get the variable from there, we'll change it to Tony, and that's why when we return, we will have Tony here. Okay, nothing special. It's very easy to understand. So what's the advantages of this non-local username? Well, first advantage is we're not going to create another variable and waste memory. So we're not going to store it somewhere in a memory and having all those references. So, but the disadvantage is that it only works in nested functions. And that's it pretty much for non-local keyword. Now you know, if you have nested function, you want to use some of the variables declared outside the other function, you can use it like this. But I always prefer when you call the inner function to pass an argument here, which can be this same one, and then you can use it, okay? There you go. So take care, and I hope you learn about non-local keyword. Welcome back, and today we are going to talk about installing Python on our machines. So we have different operating systems. Some of you might have Mac OS, some Windows, another one Linux. So what you can do, I will just guide you how you can install on Macs and Windows, and I will provide a link for the Linux user so you can see you can read from that link and install it. It's not very hard. Okay. Now, but if you are a Mac user, so I'm going to start with Mac users, so you can skip this one, but it will not be very long. It will be a minute or two. Then I'm going to continue with Windows users installation. And I'm not going to install it on my machines because on both of my computers, I do have installed Python. So luckily for me, I have a book on Amazon for the same topic. And I have the screenshots there, and that was written like a month ago. So I will show you the screenshots, and that it's pretty much the same thing. Yeah, so let's start. Now, if you're using Mac OS, if you have Mac OS, then probably the likelihood that you have Python pre-installed is very high. So how you can check? You can open the terminal, command plus space, and you type terminal there, and you can open the terminal. Luckily for me, I do have the terminal here. Let me just do this here. So I have the terminal here, right? Now, there you go. My terminal is open. So what I can do, I can start typing Python, or in some cases, Python 3. If it's not working for Python, just try Python 3. Okay, if I hit Python now, I will have this. And look at this arrow. This means that we are inside something that is called REPL or read eval print, and we can start using Python. But some of you might have this message. Let me show you. So when you open it, it will say, warning, your Python version is outdated. You need to transition to Python 3. So what Python 3 means, that means Python 3 point something it will be, right? It's saying here, you need to transition to using Python 3. Okay, if that is the case, then you can reinstall your Python again. Okay, so in my case is this, means that I have installed it on my computer, so I can start writing Python code. So I can say print hello, and I can run this. Look at this, it's working. The Python code is working. Good, I can do one little bit more zooming. Nice, but if you don't have installed, or if it's older version, I'm going to type exit here. I'm going to do clear. Now what you need to do, go on Google and type Python download, and just go to the python.org. Now from there, you need to go to the download section and look at this. At the moment, they have 3.11 version, right? And if I go back to my terminal, because I have already installed this a couple of months ago, I can just check the Python version like this. Python -- or Python 3, right? -- version, and my version will be 3.9, but as long as I have 3 there in front, I will not have any problems. So I'm not going to install it again. Okay, so go there, it will detect your operating system. You can click download, and when you click download, the package will be started to be downloaded on your browser like this. So you can install it. You will have definitely different version because you're going to watch this in future. Then you can click continue. Then you can click again continue. You can choose where the destination, where this Python should be installed, and it will tell you how big it will be. Then click install, type your credentials because you're trying to install software, and congratulations, Python this and this different version you will have for your Mac OS will be installed, right? So you can just open your Python again, or type in the terminal Python. Yeah, and you should see that you can just write here in something that's called REPL, read eval print loop. So you can start typing Python code. There you go. Now this is the link that I'm going to provide you how to install Python. Here it is. I'm going to provide you in the file with all of the links, and I will say Python installation for Macs. Okay. Now for Windows. For Windows users, it's very straightforward. All you need to do, go to this website, then the download will detect your operating system. You can download the latest one, right? And after you're choosing your download latest one, you need to install it. So double click on it. Now this here, when it's launched, it will ask you install the launcher for all users, recommended, yeah, and add Python 3.11 maybe or 12, it doesn't matter, to the path. This one is super important. After that, you need to click that, you need to click install now. Make sure that before install now, you check this one, and setup was successful. You need to close it. Now you need to open your command prompt. Now, when you open the command prompt, you can hit this home button, right? And type command prompt. Good. And now inside, same thing. You type Python. And you will get inside this read eval print loop. So you can start writing your Python code. Now, the same thing you can do if you're on Windows. You can even use PowerShell, right? The PowerShell is, as I said, more preferable because you can use the same command that works on Linux and Macs, right? So I have PowerShell. It was outdated, but yeah, so I can use it. Here it is. I can type Python and I will have the same thing. So if you have PowerShell, please use it. There's another way to run Python on your Windows machines if you install the Git bash, right? So this is a basically bash emulation, which is the shell that allows Windows users to use the Unix commands. And that's it. So I will also provide how to install the PowerShell. And for the Linux user, I will provide this link here, which is Real Python. And they have, if you scroll down, this is how to install Python on Windows. And you can even install for Windows through the App Store, which I've never done it. Now, we should go back. Here it is. This is on the second version, how to install Python on Mac. And there should be on the end, how to install Python on Linux. Good, all right? So there you go. Now you have Python installed on your machine, and you can always check on the terminal or your command prompt if Python is there by doing Python -- version, and it will give your current version. And if you do Python 3 maybe, then you should go to this REPL or read eval print loop. Okay, we're not going to write the code here, but this is how you need to install the Python on your local machines. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now in this lecture we are going to talk about Visual Studio Code. It's an editor that we can use to write and run Python code. So this Visual Studio Code editor is very popular and a lot of people use it. Now, when you go on Google and type Visual Studio Code, you can click on the first link saying code.visualstudio.com. Now here you need to select the version, click on it. Your operating system, right, will have a different version than mine probably, and you can download it. After downloading, it's a very simple installation, and you will end up with an icon somewhere like this. So if you start it, this will be your Visual Studio screen. Now here outside on the desktop, I will create a new folder called Python. If I can type it right. So Python code files. Okay. Now, first things first, when you open this one, let's zoom in here. You can create new files straight away. You can open a folder or directory. So let's go create new file. You can create new file like this, or you can go file, new text file, or new file, right? So I'm gonna go new file and text file, and inside say print hi, like that. Now, the thing that we need to do is actually to save this one, because here it's unsaved and number 1 means, okay, something is wrong. The thing that we added here in this file, they're not saved. So Control S on Windows and Command S or on Mac, it will give us option to name our file. Let's name it test.py, but you can name it whatever you want. And let's store it on the folder that we created here, Python code files. You can name it that one as well. You can name it whatever you want. Now I have this one. So at this stage, I don't have any pop-ups here, but If you freshly install this one, you might have pop-ups like this. Let me show you. So you can install the recommended extension, and if you click on this button, it will bring you to this center here. So we need to install the Python IntelliSense, right? Now, I don't have this pop-up, but I can find the Python IntelliSense like this. So if I zoom in everything here, go back here and say, this is the extensions, right? Click here and say Python Intel, and that's it. It will start looking. The first one, good. 71 million, that means that somebody is very happy with this. So install, and you can read the documentation. It includes a lot of things. Okay, so the Python extension will automatically install this. Very good. Now, the next thing that you might have a pop-up, if I don't have the pop-up, is this. So you will say the linter, you should select or install, or you should select the Python interpreter. Now, if you have like something like this, you can click on it and it will give you the version number so you can select. So Python interpreter, select the version that you have installed, and you can find that version easily here. If you go back to your python.org/downloads, go here, and this will be your recent version, okay? So here, in my case, I don't have it, but I can find it into view, command palette, and I can say type, you need to start typing because you're not gonna have this one. You say Python, select interpreter, and here I'm gonna select this one. Obviously, you need to select different one. Your version will be different than mine, okay? Select the version that you have installed. There you go. That is done. Now, let's see what you might get. Doesn't mean that you will get. Now, when you select the interpreter, the Python interpreter, we can test our code. So what I'm saying, what I mean. Now here I can open a folder, all right? I can go to the desktop and choose this one, good. Now I have a little bit different, okay. Now on the Explorer side, I have Python code files, the folder, and inside I can see that I have that file that I saved, okay. Now I can create a new file, .py, right? And here I can say print, hey, from the new file, good. Save this one, Control S or Command S. Don't forget to save things. You can create a folder even if you want, right? You can create a folder, you can rename the folder here. If you do right click, say scripts, whatever, okay? Now if you go back to your desktop, you will see that all of the things that you have done through your Python, they're here. New file, test.py scripts. Okay, but how we can run this file? Easy. What we can do, we can open the terminal that's built in VSCode, and let's hope, yeah, Python code files, it's selected. So what I can do, yeah, I'm gonna say Python or Python 3, but I'm gonna go with Python, and then I'm gonna use not this file, this one, test.py, so name of the file. And if you hit enter, return, hi, how cool. So if I want to run the other file, new file, so I'm gonna give it the new underscore file.py, and if I run it, hey, from the new file. How cool is this? So at least our Python code is working. Now, another thing. Here, so if you have linter is not installed, you need to install it. I don't have it, but if you do have it, in some cases, you might have this one. You can click on install, right? And what you can do, sorry, I'm scrolling a little bit. You need to do a couple of things here. So let me just show you. You can go a little bit back here, again to a command.palette. So after installing the linter, but if that is the pop-up, if it's not, don't worry, but you should go here like this. So view, command palette, and type Python, enable disable linting. When you hit OK, you just make sure that this linting is enabled. And there you go. Okay, good. So we have done pretty much everything. No, not everything. We need to install a couple of extensions. Like, let's install VSCode icons. Let's wait. Let's install this one. It's gonna be perfect. Choose this one. Set icon theme. Good. Let's go back now and see. Voila, we have the icons there. We have the folders, we have the scripts, everything. Okay, one more thing. We can even change the appearance. We can apply different theme, and we can choose Dracula. Dracula official, you can go there. Oh, what happened? Dracula official PyCharm. Oh no, this is not good. Wait, Dracula official. And hey, why it's changing in the last second? But because this is like a commercial okay, this one, Dracula. Okay, this one. Install it. It's official theme. Oof, it's gonna be soft, whatever you wanted. Okay, now go here and you have different color. Now, what is the linter that I said that you need to go to command palette and say and type Python enable disable linting? Well, the linter is gonna help us with some of the spelling mistake. For example, let's do this. Open the terminal, new terminal, and you can close this one because I want to use the old one. And if I just forget to add this quote here, I will have two problems. Was not closed. From Pyland, string liter is unterminated. And it gives you which line? Line number 1. Good. Now, this is for syntactical problems or stylistic problems that you might run because we are humans and we can just do a couple of mistakes. But now we're going to have the errors here. Good. Save it. Now you know how to use the VS Code to write and to run your code. Okay? We will learn a little bit more about VS Code in future. Don't worry about it. Even here now, when I have this test file, I have this run button. So if I click here, run, there you go. I have it. So let's say define a function test function, and let's say here print test function, and let's call that function here. Let's save it first, the file, and just run it. Here it is, the output is there. But if you want to run the new file, and if you click run it here, it will say, hey, from the new file. But if it's not, you can just run. Or yeah, before was a little bit different. So yeah, if it's give you run without debugging, it should give you here option which file to choose. But if it's not giving you option, it's all good. At least you have the ability to change it. Test function, right? Everything is working. So you don't need to type Python and test.py in order to run. You can use this triangle here and it's the same thing. Cool. That's it for this lecture. I know it's a little bit longer, but it is what it is. So you've learned how to install VS Code, how to install extensions, how to select the Python interpreter, how to enable the linting, and why we need the linting, right? For this spelling mistakes that we're gonna make, and a lot of others. Even look at this. Even if I do save it, it will give me space between. So usually it's 2 spaces after the function, right? So it's formatted and everything is good. And that's pretty much it. In the next lecture, we're going to learn about useful terminal or command prompt commands. So take care. Okay, just one more lecture for VS Code editor because I want to share one information. So what is this PEP8? So I've created a new file called format_code.py. Py. And here we're going to talk about PEP8. But the PEP8 is an abbreviation for Python Enhancement Proposal. Good. So PEP8 is a document that provides guidelines how to write and style our code. Now, in the last lecture, when I save it, these two lines were added between the function and function call. So this is great. This is coming from PEP8 enhancement proposal. So this is a guideline that will tell us, okay, the code should be styled like this, and yeah, so it will do automatic for us. Now, when we install the extension, I'm just going to tell you here, Python, it comes with a lot of things. Before it wasn't this, before a couple of months, it wasn't like this, it was a little bit more, but when we install it, comes with pylons, linting, debugging, and it also comes with this. Where is it? Code formatting. So you can format your code with black, AutoPep, or YEP. Okay? Now that is pretty much good. So if that is activated, the only thing you need to do now is to go to code from the menu, choose settings, right? And type format and click here or on editor format on save. Okay, this one should be ticked. Good. Now if everything is working with you guys, when you click Control S or Command S, whatever, this should happen. The code should be formatted according to the guidelines of PEP8. I also will provide a link to that so you can read more. But if this doesn't happen to you guys, then all you need to do is to go back to extensions and install Auto PEP8, this one. So I can install it as well, right? Now, let's go back here. And now if I Control S, good. Now another way, if you don't want to do this auto save, right? There's one more traditional way. So you can go here and go back to View, Command Palette, and click on this format document. So it will format this document for you. But that's too much boring, and that's why we have selected the settings to format on save, right? So editor format on save, this should format a file on a save. A formatter must be available, so that's why we install AutoPEP8, but it also comes with the previous installation we did in the previous lecture here. Okay, so now you have everything. You have every tool to write clean code, readable and understandable. Okay, so AutoPEP8 again is abbreviation for Python Enhancement Proposal, and it provides guidelines how to write clean code, right? So the PEP8 will help us write beautiful code that is clean, readable and styled. So that's why it's adding 2 spaces between the functions, right? Good. Now also you can create file here, you can create a folder, you can drag and drop these files in the folders, so you can do a lot of things. Now you can run the files if you click here on the run, and it should give you, you can remove that, run it again, and it should give you 9 and 4, which is from these 2 functions. Okay, that's pretty much it for this lecture. Now you know a lot of things for VSCode. You have installed a couple of extensions that will help you write Python code. You have installed Team. You know how to use the marketplace to search for extensions, and yeah, it's gonna be very good. Also, you can install different icon packs if you want for this. And now we are going to focus on different tools that you can use to write Python. And that's pretty much it for this lecture. Okay, now in this lecture we're going to talk about PyCharm, and this is an IDE that you can use to write and execute Python code without any problems. Now all you need to do is to type PyCharm on Google and it will give you this one. So PyCharm is being developed by JetBrains, and it comes with full-fledged professional version or free community. For the professional you need to pay, but you don't need to actually. We are going to use the free community. So there's a one paid version, one free version. So you can learn all about the pricing there. Now, why we need PyCharm? Well, if you struggled to set everything with your VSCode code editor, then the PyCharm is a better option for you. Now, it's a little bit bigger for installation, but it's more robust. It includes everything. So we can write, we can run, we can format without installing anything further, because this one is developed particularly for Python. So for writing Python code. Now all you need to do is go to download or download this button here, and you need to choose the community. So when you choose your version based on, it will pre-select. Mine is Mac, but yours, if it's Windows, it will be for Windows, okay? So download, install it, but when you click on download, I think so that it will require your email, and you can just give them your email. Now, the professional version, we not gonna need it for this course because we only need to write Python code. So after you install it, the installation will be pretty much like this. This is for Mac, so you need to open, agree to the terms, and your first look at the Python, when you click on the icon, it should be like this, okay? Now, let me open mine one. It will be a little bit different than yours, but pretty much similar. So mine one will load the last project that I did here, and you will have a lot of pop-ups here saying, okay, do you want to learn this? Do you want to learn that? Okay? Now, the first things first is we need to create a new project. So go File, New Project, and you can name your project here, okay? So my first project, it can be any name you want. Now make sure that the environment is set to virtual environment, and location is where the file will be saved, and the base interpreter should be your latest version of Python that you installed like a couple of lectures ago. So then you need to create. If you select, there are multiple, but mine one is this. So I'm just gonna hit create button here, and you can choose this window. If you want another window, then that's fine, but choose this window, and it will create your project. Now inside you will have VNV folder with bin and lib. Don't worry about this one. You will have the main file with some code here. Now, you can do a lot of things for this IDE. So as I mentioned, it's a little bit bigger than the VS Code editor or any editor, but it's a complete package. We don't need to install anything further, but we can just increase or play with this a little bit. So if you go to PyCharm preferences, now you can just change the appearance here to light, to Mac OS Light, Dracula, or high contrast. This one, all right? Maybe for the video, is this the best, but I can't because my eyes are hurting. So Dracula was pre-selected, it's okay. Now you can also increase the size of the file. If it's, let's say 30, let's hit apply. Here it is, a little bit bigger. Let's do it 33, okay? This is not, you should do something, but I need to do it because I want you to read everything clearly, okay? Now, next things, you can also check your editor. Let's change the font. The font is very small here for you guys. Let's change it to 38. Let's move it here, apply it. And I think so this is fine. 38 is too much. Let's do it 34, apply it, or 32 should be, or 30 should be enough. Oops, what happened? Not 330, my goodness. That's it. So you can play with this, code styles. You can choose even different font, whatever. Now, another way you can find this is if you can click on this IDE in project settings, it will go here to your plugins, themes, preferences. It will just give you the same window. Now, let's delete this one and say print hi. Good. So how you can run this? Well, you need to click on the run main, or here it is, or you can go to run and run main. Good. Now, how you can create a new file? Well, you can select this one here, right click, new file, and just type your file like test1.py. Good. Now we can minimize this and let's open the VS Code and open the folder we created before. Just gonna get something from there, right? Now, no, we don't need that one actually. What's happening here? Because I opened different, probably. Yeah, that's it. Python code files. There you go. Now I'm just gonna copy everything here, right? And I don't need this anymore. I can paste this one in my PyCharm. Good. Let's see what will happen here. Now, if I click here, run, it gives me hi from the main, because the main.py file is the main file for the entire project. So that's the source for this entire project. So how we can do it? Well, look here, you can choose it. Or you can go run, and you don't click run main, just click run, and it will give you option which file you want to choose. Choose the test one, and there you go. Now you have the result there. Now another way, you need to format this one, right? So you can go here, refactor or code, code, and go to reformat code, and there you go. Now even if we make some mistakes here, like return num, let's see, we will have this red wiggly line, and if you hover it, you say, okay, unresolved reference number, good. If you try to run it, then you will have the error here. Name num is not defined. Did you mean num1? Very good. So everything is working, right? The linting for finding the syntax errors for everything is working. The formatter is working. We don't need to install anything. We just need to write the code and choose which file we want, but the main file is this one, right? You should always know that. And ladies and gentlemen, now you know how you can write and execute Python code in the PyCharm. Now, if I have to choose, there is a terminal as well here. If I have to choose, I will stick to this one because it's more powerful for writing Python, but the VS Code is okay. And even the Replit website, it's okay for you guys. So you can learn things, you can write things, whatever you want to do. So now you know 3 different ways how you can run, or 4 actually. You can use this replit.com website, you can use the VS Code editor, or you can use PyCharm. And we can write a small amount of code or small parts using the terminal. And we are going, in next lecture, we're going to learn a lot about terminals. So we're going to learn a couple of things, useful tips and tricks, how you can deal with terminals, because I think you need that part. So this course can create a complete package. We're not finished, but we're going to cover the terminal commands in the next lecture. So take care. Now you know how to use PyCharm, and I'm so happy that you are here. So yeah, I will see you in the next one. Okay, in today's lecture, we're going to talk about a useful terminal commands or command prompt commands. Now, if you're serious about Python or becoming a developer or programmer, you should know how to use the terminal. Now, here there is one problem. The commands that I'm going to show you, it will work on Linux and Mac OS, but they don't work on Windows. So for Windows, I'm just gonna state that if you want to use the same command on Windows, you should use this, but sometimes it gets tricky. Now, if you have your Windows 11 or 10, you can install and get started with Windows Terminal. And if you do this, you can use the same commands as me, okay? Or you can just follow me and use most of the commands that I'm gonna share, because for some of them it will be tricky to do on the terminal, right? Okay, now for our part, we need to open the terminal, and for the Windows user, they can open the command prompt, right? So for Mac users, command and space, then type terminal, and there we have. Now, you will not be able to see, that's why I have a blank document here, right? So let me just zoom in here. And now I think we're good to go. Okay, so let's start. If we want to list the current directory, everything that you have in the current directory, on a Mac, you should type ls and hit enter or return. And on Windows, you should type dir, okay? And it should work. Okay, now, what's next we can do? So here, I'm listing everything from desktop, documents, users, everything that I have on this current directory. Now, if you would like to check which directory you are at the moment, for Windows, you can type cd, and for us, for Mac OS, you need to type p. So only cd, and for Mac pwd. So I'm in users rig, which is great, very good. Now, if you want to change directory, you can change it using the cd command. So cd stands for change it, and this one is identical for Mac and Windows users. So if you're using the terminal on Windows, you can say cd and go to any of these directories. So I'm gonna say I want to go to the desktop, and I need to start typing cd and desktop and de, and if I hit tab, it will auto-complete for me, okay? We'll talk a little bit more about this. So I'm on the desktop at the moment. You can do the same thing for Windows. Now, if you want to go back one directory, you can just go cd space ... so 2 dots, and this means change directory, or go one level up and hit return or enter, and there you go. I'm back in this directory. Good. Now, the terminal, if your terminal looks messy and you don't know what to do, you can use CLS for Windows. It will clear everything, or clear for Mac OS. So now the terminal window is perfectly clear. Okay, now if you want to navigate to your root directory, you need to do cd /, don't forget the /, and here we go. And if you do ls for us, right, or dir for Windows users. When I say us, I mean the Mac users, okay? Now, let's do one more thing. So if you want to go back to the user directory where we were before, right, this one, we can say cd and this sign, tilde, and hit enter or return. There you go. We are back to the users directory. We can check this for pwd, and there we go. We are there. Now, I hope you understand what I'm trying to do. I'm teaching you some very useful commands, okay? Now, let's go on our desktop and create a folder called P1. Very good name, right? So this folder will stay there on the desktop. Not gonna touch it for now, but we try to do some things with this folder. Okay, so the P1 is on the desktop. We need to use the terminal to go to the desktop now, all right? So let's see, ls, here it is. I have the desktop, or dir for Windows. So go cd desktop, right? Now I need to go to our folder that we created. If I do ls, it will list all of the things there I do have, and here it is, pd1. So I go cd p1. There you go. Now if I do ls, nothing is there. Let me clear this one. Okay, so I'm inside the P1 folder that we just created, and it sits on our desktop machine. Okay, now I want to create another folder inside, and to name this folder, let's say first. So what I can do, I can use the command mkdir, so make directory, and we need to name this directory. So let's name it first. Now if I do ls or dir, I will see that, oops, there I have, that the directory is there. Now, if I want to open this folder, open the P1 folder, because I'm inside there, so I can use the command open and dot, And for Windows, I believe it's start and dot. Okay, so for us it's open dot, and look what will happen. Here it is. It will open this folder for us. How cool is this? Now we can go inside this first one. So cd first, good. ls or dir, nothing will be there. So I want to create a file there, and we can create a file through the terminal or command prompt. So I need to use touch index.html, and this is the file name they want to create. You can name it anything you want, right? This is for Mac OS, but if you are on Windows, you can use echo and index.html, right? And this should create a file for you. Now, yeah, as I mentioned, the terminal is a little bit tricky. The command prompt is a little bit tricky, okay? Touch index.html, and if I do ls for us or dir for Windows, I will see the file there. How cool is this? So what basically I have, let me open this one. Open dot, look, inside the P1 I have folder first, and inside the first folder I have the index.html, but this file is empty. So how we can open this file? Well, we can open this file again using the open command or start command, right? So if you're Windows, you should type start index.html, and this should open, right? But here I'm gonna use open, and then I'm gonna put the name of the file. And look at this, it will be open in the browser, but this is completely empty. And look at the path, it's local, users, rig, desktop, P1 first. Wow, a lot of things. Okay, let's go back. Now I've opened the file and it's empty. Now what I can do here is I can use the terminal to open the code editor. So for example, we have the code editor, and for the command prompt, this will be very difficult because you need to install a couple of things, but you can try, but not sure it's gonna work. Now for us, it's gonna be very simple. Open -a, and then you put the name in quotes of the editor you have. For example, if you have Sublime, you put Sublime here. If you have Visual Studio Code, and yeah, you can do that. And hit return or enter, the code editor Visual Studio will be open, right? And this shouldn't happen here, but let me close it. It should only open the Visual Studio Code, but for some reason it's also open the index.html. But if we want to open the index straight in the Visual Studio Code, we should name the file here, HTML, and there you go. Now I have the index. So here you can type HTML and hit tab, or if that is not working for you, you can type exclamation mark and hit tab, and you will have the skeleton, HTML skeleton or markup for us there. Now let's create one heading tag here. Is saying terminal commands, and save the file, right? So I'm gonna minimize it. Now I can do open index.html, and there you go. Now for the Windows user, if you're not able to do this, so you can just open manually your index file, add a code there, and then you start index.html. Okay, nice. But if you have installed this part, if you install this, you will be able to do the same commands as me. Okay, now good. Let's go back here to the terminal and let's learn something useful. So we know how to create a file, we know how to open a file, we know how to start our code editor and actually add a code and again reload the file. So this is pretty much awesome, right? So we know a lot of things. Now, what else we can do here? Well, for example, as you can see the terminal, we can do the same things we are doing with our mouse and keyboard. So for example, if you want to change the name of the index file to app.html, you can use the following command. So for Windows users, I'm going to tell it for Windows users first. You can use rename, and then index, you give the file name first, and then you give the name you want to this file to be renamed to. So app.html, right? For the Mac, it's very similar, and mv index.html. So this file, we point which file we want to rename, and then we add the name we want that file to have. So if I hit enter return, if I do ls, I will have app.html. And if I do refresh now, look, I have index.html. If I do refresh now, bang, we're not gonna have any access because this file doesn't exist. So I can do again open or start app.html. How cool is this? So we know how to rename the file for both Macs and for Mac OS and Windows. Now, let me just show you something. So we renamed the file, right? But what if we have a couple of files? Let's touch or create another one, app1.html file, right? And ls, I have two files now. Now, if I want to open, for example, this one, app1, because both of the files start with app, right? Only this one is different. So if I do A and press tab, this will give me app pp because both of them have the same characters, right? But now the only one is distinguished from another. That's why it doesn't give me the autocomplete as before, because these are almost very identical files. So now if I type 1, it will know that I'm targeting this file, and if I go tab, then it will autocomplete for me. Okay, how cool is this? Now, if you want to, I'm not gonna open this one file, right, because it's empty. So if you want to delete a file, for Windows user, you use del, right, and app1.html, and for Mac users, you need to use rm or remove app1.html. And if I hit enter and ls for us or dir for Windows, I will have only one file. How cool is this, right? Now, what else we can do? Well, if we want to remove this first, we can go one level up to the P1 folder, right? So we are in the P1 now, and we want to delete or remove the first folder. So I'm gonna say rm minus r first. And this is command for Mac, and for Windows, it's gonna be del tree first, okay? So del tree first, and here for Mac will be rm minus r and the name of the folder. Boom. So if I do ls now, the folder is empty. We can also check this one, or we can say open dot, and yeah, there's nothing there. Good. So we know how to rename files, we know how to delete files, we know how to create folders, we know how to open Visual Studio Code, we need to know how to load the file into the browser, and this is very cool. Now, finally, we can remove the folder, this one, P1, from the desktop, because that's not something that I would like to have on my desktop. So I need to go, again, CD, change directory, one level up. Now I'm in the desktop, and I can just also use the same command, rm minus r P1, and for Windows was del tree, right? But you also need to go back. So let's do this, and let's confirm that on the desktop we don't have anything. So that's pretty much it for this terminal commands. I hope you like it, and I hope that Windows users have found a way how to install the terminal so you can use the same commands, or if you're using if you want to stick to the terminal, to command line, right? So you need to find a way or read more how you can open this Visual Studio Code. Try code and the name of the file, it should open, but you should do a couple of tweaks there. You should give permissions. You should also give link to where it was located. So that's why I'm not gonna bother doing that, because it's too much. And I believe that this was enough for you to understand how the commands can help us. And if you're developer or programmer, you should know how to use them. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I will see you in the next lecture. Okay, this is the final short video for this part 6. And I want to say that you have done amazing job because you have learned so many things like arguments and keywords, global keywords, local scopes, global scope, and function scope, whatever. So we have learned so many things, and we have also installed VSCode so you can write and execute Python code. And plus you have learned how to install extensions, how to set up everything so you can start coding. The next part we did PyCharm. It's an IDE, which in my opinion it's better than the VS Code editor, right? Because when you install it, you don't need to tweak anything. You can just run the code, and it comes with everything. It comes with the formatting. It comes with linting. When we are making some silly spelling mistakes, it will tell us the error, which line we need to fix it. So yeah, I consider this part as a very good part because we have learned a lot. And also we have covered the terminal commands, okay, or command prompt commands. Now I know for some of the Windows users, some of the commands will not work, but if you can just install or use PowerShell or install terminal for the Windows, right? So you can follow me exactly what I'm trying to do. And yeah, I think we are becoming very proficient in Python. Now the next part will be a little bit more advanced. So we will cover object-oriented programming, where we're going to learn how to create classes, how to work with classes, how to instantiate classes, what are constructors, and a lot of other things. So I hope you like this part, because the next part will be even more awesome, and in that part you will become a very much more advanced Python programmer. Okay, so if you like this part, please share it with your friends, subscribe, comment it. Whatever you do, just you're gonna help me, and you can put a smile on my family face and me as well, right? And that's it. So I will see you in the next part.